What if I told you there were 70 to ancient Hebrew words, or more accurately, names that could literally shift the very fabric of your reality? It sounds like something from a movie, doesn't it? A hidden scroll, a mystical secret. For centuries, this knowledge was guarded by Kabbalists, passed down from teacher to student in hushed tones. They called these names the very DNA of creation, the source code for the universe. Stick with me for a few minutes, because I'm going to share not just what these names are, but how they can unlock a profound sense of abundance, wisdom, and protection in your own life. This isn't about religion, it's about spiritual technology. Before we go further, it's important you understand where this comes from. It begins with one of the most dramatic stories in the Hebrew Bible, the splitting of the Red Sea. Imagine the scene. The Israelites have escaped slavery in Egypt, but they are trapped. Before them is an impassable sea. Behind them, Pharaoh's army, the most powerful military force on earth, is closing in. There is no hope. It is a moment of absolute despair, and it is in this moment of impossible pressure that a miracle occurs. The story is told in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, specifically in verses 19, 20, and 21. What the ancient mystics discovered is that each of these 3 verses contains exactly 70 Hebrew letters. This was no coincidence. They realized this was a code. For 30 years of my life, I was like the Israelites at the edge of that sea. I had built businesses. I had mastered the markets. I had achieved everything our society tells you is the definition of success. And yet, I was trapped. Before me was a sea of emptiness, a profound lack of meaning. Behind me was the relentless army of my own ambition, my anxiety, and my burnout. I had everything, and I had nothing. It was in that crucible of my own making that I turned away from the noise of the world and toward the quiet wisdom of my ancestors. I wasn't just looking for comfort, I was looking for a tool, a technology to part the seas in my own life. That is when I was introduced to the 70 names. Let me tell you about a man I'll call Daniel. Daniel was a brilliant surgeon. At the very top of his field, he performed miracles with his hands every day. Yet his own life was falling apart. His marriage was strained. He felt disconnected from his children, and he lived with a constant, low-grade fear that his success was a fragile illusion. He came to me and said, "Solomon, I feel like a fraud. I save lives, but I can't even save my own." He was standing at his own Red Sea. I began to explain to him that these names are not magic spells to be chanted. They are vibrational keys. They are spiritual technologies designed to retune the instrument, which is you, to a more harmonious frequency. Even King Solomon himself, famed for his legendary wisdom and unimaginable wealth, was said to have understood and utilized these divine combinations not to control the world, but to bring himself into alignment with the divine flow of creation. By the end of our time together, you will begin to understand why the mystics call these 70 combinations the very building blocks of reality. Have you ever felt that way? Trapped between an impossible future and a relentless past? So, how is this profound technology actually accessed? How do we get from 3 Bible verses to 70 instruments for changing our lives? The process itself is a beautiful demonstration of the principle of weaving together different currents to create something new. The sages took the first verse, Exodus 14:19, and wrote it out as it is in the Torah, from right to left. Then, directly beneath it, they took the second verse, 14:20, and they wrote it in reverse, from left to right. Finally, they took the third verse, 14:21, and wrote it beneath the other 2, again in its proper direction, from right to left. What they created was a grid, a tapestry of letters. The 70 names of God are not found by reading across this grid, but by reading down. The first name is formed by taking the first letter of the first verse, the first letter of the second verse written in reverse, and the first letter of the third verse. The second name is formed by the second letter of each verse, and so on, 72 times. This isn't just a clever anagram. It's a formula for spiritual alchemy. The first verse represents the outgoing, giving energy of the divine. The second verse, written in reverse, represents the receiving, feminine, introspective energy. The third verse represents the result, the grounded reality that is manifested when giving and receiving are in perfect balance. Each 3-letter name is a perfect circuit of energy, a complete thought of God, if you will. This is why they are so powerful. They bypass the conscious mind with all its doubts and limitations and speak directly to the soul in the language of creation itself. I remember a woman I worked with years ago, a brilliant physicist named Sarah. When I first explained this to her, she almost laughed. "Solomon," she said, "with all due respect, this is beautiful poetry, but it sounds like numerological superstition." I understood her skepticism. It was the same skepticism I once had. I simply asked her to try an experiment. She was dealing with a deep, painful rift with her brother, a wound that had festered for over a decade. I suggested she work with the 42nd name, which is associated with revealing the spiritual truth beneath chaos and conflict. I didn't ask her to believe. I just asked her to sit quietly for 10 minutes each day, visualizing the 3 Hebrew letters and holding the intention of seeing her brother not as an adversary, but as a soul, just like her. She did this for 2 weeks. On the 15th day, her phone rang. It was her brother. He didn't know why, but he said he just woke up that morning feeling an overwhelming need to speak with her and to apologize. How is this possible? Think of it in the language of Sarah's own field, quantum physics. We know that at the subatomic level, reality isn't solid. It's a dance of potential, a sea of vibrating energy. The famous observer effect shows that the reality that manifests is influenced by the consciousness that observes it. When you focus your consciousness with laser-like precision on one of these names, you are introducing a new, coherent frequency into your personal energy field. You are choosing to observe a different potential. It's also like the science of somatics, where sound vibrations are shown to organize sand into beautiful, complex geometric patterns. The sages taught that these letter combinations are the primal sounds, the frequencies that organize the energy of reality. You are not imposing your will on the world, you are changing the vibrational pattern of your own being. And the world, like the sand on the vibrating plate, rearranges itself around you in a new, more harmonious pattern. Could it be that the ancient scriptures are not just storybooks, but encrypted manuals for human consciousness? It is crucial to understand that these names are not magic spells. They are not buttons you push to control the universe. In my years of chasing material wealth, I learned that any attempt to control the world from the outside is a fool's errand that leads only to exhaustion. The ancient wisdom teaches the opposite. The work is always internal. These names are tools for profound personal transformation. By changing your inner state, your outer reality must, by spiritual law, follow suit. The mystics have grouped the names into general categories, and for our purposes today, I want to focus on 3 essential ones: healing, protection, and manifestation.
Let's begin with healing, and the name formed by the letters Mem, Hey, and Shin. I think of a dear woman named Margaret, who came to me several years ago. She was in her late 60s, and for more than a decade had been a prisoner in her own home, suffering from a chronic condition that caused her constant pain and fatigue. She had seen countless doctors and specialists, and while they helped manage her symptoms, nothing touched the root of her suffering. She was filled with despair. I explained to her that the name Mem-Hey-Shin is a conduit to the primordial energy of life and healing. It is not about asking an external force to fix you. It is about remembering the perfection of the soul, the blueprint of perfect health that exists within every one of us before the world and its anxieties lay their hands upon it. Her practice was simple. Every morning before the day's anxieties could take hold, she would sit quietly for 15 minutes. She would visualize the 3 Hebrew letters glowing with a soft, radiant silver light in her mind's eye. Then, she would imagine that light descending into her body, a warm, liquid light that flowed into every cell, reminding it of its divine origin. She was not fighting the pain, she was infusing her body with the frequency of wholeness. It took time. But after a month, she told me she had a single day with no pain, then a few more. Within 6 months, she was able to take walks in her garden again. The name didn't magically cure her disease, but it reconnected her to the healer within, and that is where all true healing begins. What if healing isn't about fixing something that is broken, but remembering the wholeness that was never lost? Next, let's speak of protection. For this, we turn to the name formed by Aleph, Lamed, and Dalet. When we hear protection, we often think of shielding ourselves from external harm. But the sages knew that the most dangerous enemy is almost always our own inner critic, our own fear, and the subtle negative projections of others. I once mentored a young man, David, an architect with a revolutionary vision for sustainable housing, but he was paralyzed. Every time he was about to present his ideas, he would be flooded with doubt. He felt the jealousy of his colleagues, he heard the cautious warnings of his parents, and it all amplified the voice in his own head that said, "Who are you to do this?" I taught him that the name Aleph-Lamed-Dalet builds a kind of energetic shield. It's not a wall, it's a filter. His daily practice was to visualize these 3 letters forming a shimmering dome of light around him. He would affirm that only energies of love, encouragement, and constructive feedback could enter his space, while energies of envy, fear, and negativity would simply slide off, unable to find a foothold. This practice gave him the psychic and emotional clarity to stand in his own power. It didn't silence his critics, but it silenced their power within him. How much of your creative energy is spent defending yourself from perceived threats, and what could you build if that energy were completely free? Finally, let us touch upon manifestation, or more accurately, the removal of the mental blocks that prevent us from receiving what is already trying to reach us. The name Lamed-Aleph-Vav is a powerful tool for this. It is about transcending the narrow confines of the ego mind to connect with the divine mind. I think of a musician I knew, a brilliant composer named Michael, who was completely blocked. He would sit at his piano for hours, but the wellspring of his creativity had run dry. His ego was tormenting him, comparing him to others, telling him his best work was behind him. The practice with Lamed-Aleph-Vav is one of surrender. I told him to stop trying to write music. Instead, his meditation was to visualize the name and simply ask to become a hollow reed through which a greater music could flow. He was to release his personal attachment to the outcome. It was a profound struggle for him, but one afternoon, it happened. The inner critic fell silent, and a melody, fully formed and more beautiful than anything he felt he could have written himself, simply arrived in his consciousness. The name didn't give him the melody, it just opened the channel that his own ego had blocked. The abundance you seek, whether it's creative, financial, or relational, is often not something you need to go out and get. It is something that is already flowing toward you, waiting for you to clear the path. Now, let us go deeper into 3 specific names that I believe have the power to create profound and immediate shifts in your life. And we must begin with the one that is most misunderstood, and in our modern world, most desperately sought after: wealth and abundance. When people hear my name, Solomon, they often think of the legendary king, a man whose riches were so vast, they became the stuff of legend. But the scriptures tell us that the first thing Solomon asked of God was not for gold or for power, but for a listening heart, for wisdom. And because he asked for the right thing, all the rest was given to him. This is the secret. True abundance is a byproduct of a certain state of being, a state of alignment with the creative flow of the universe. The name we use to help cultivate this alignment is formed by the letters Samech, Aleph, and Lamed. This name is considered one of the most powerful for attracting prosperity and undoing the spiritual blockages that cause financial hardship. But let us be very clear. This is not about meditating for 10 minutes and finding a winning lottery ticket on your doorstep. That is the thinking of a mind rooted in scarcity. This name works on a much deeper level. It helps to heal your poverty consciousness. Many of us, without even realizing it, walk through life believing that resources are limited, that there's not enough to go around, and that we must struggle and grasp for our share. This belief system, this fear, creates a constricted energy field around us. It's like trying to catch the rain in a thimble. The divine flow of abundance, what the Kabbalists call Shefa, is constantly raining down, but our vessel is too small and too tightly closed to receive it. Meditating on Samech-Aleph-Lamed is the process of putting down the thimble and opening your arms to the storm, of becoming a vast reservoir. I think of a woman I'll call Rachel. She had poured her life savings into opening a small bakery in her community. It was her dream. She used the finest ingredients. She treated her employees like family, and her products were wonderful. But the business was failing. She was drowning in debt and anxiety. When she came to see me, she was a bundle of frantic energy, talking a mile a minute about new marketing plans, loans she was applying for, ways she could cut costs. She was working 18-hour days, fueled by coffee and fear. I told her that for 1 week, her only task was to stop the frantic doing and to spend just 20 minutes twice a day in a state of receptive being. Here is the practice I gave her, and I offer it to you now. Find a quiet place. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths, and with each exhale, release the feeling of struggle. Let go of the need to figure it all out. Now picture the 3 Hebrew letters, Samech, Aleph, Lamed. See them in your mind's eye, perhaps shimmering as if they were made of soft golden light. Don't strain. Just gently hold the image. Now, silently repeat the affirmation, I am a worthy and open vessel for the infinite abundance of the universe. Feel the meaning of those words. Don't just say them. Feel the tension in your shoulders release. Feel the knot in your stomach unclench. Feel the walls you've built around your heart begin to dissolve. You are not asking for money. You are aligning yourself with the frequency of abundance itself. You are shifting from a state of I need to a state of I am ready to receive. Rachel practiced this diligently. For the first few days, she said it was maddening. Her mind raced with all the things she should be doing. But by the 4th day, a sense of peace began to settle over her. On the 6th day, she received a phone call. It was a woman she had briefly met at a farmer's market a year earlier. The woman owned a local chain of specialty grocery stores and had been searching for a supplier of high-quality baked goods. She remembered the taste of Rachel's bread. Within a month, Rachel had a contract that not only saved her business, but set her on a path to expansion she had never imagined. Did the meditation make the phone ring? No. The meditation changed Rachel's energetic state from one of desperate, repelling scarcity to one of calm, magnetic abundance. It made her a vibrational match for the opportunity that was already seeking her. What is your true relationship with money? Are you chasing it, or are you allowing it to come to you? Once we begin to open ourselves to the flow of abundance, it becomes essential that we know how to protect our energy. This is not about building walls or living in fear, but about maintaining a clean, clear vessel so that we can create from a place of power, not reactivity. For this, we return to the name we touched upon earlier, Aleph-Lamed-Dalet, and we will explore it more deeply. The mystics speak of a concept called the Ayin Hara, which is often translated as the evil eye. In our modern, rational minds, this can sound like an old-world superstition, but it is a very real, energetic principle. It is the heavy, draining effect that the focused negative energy of others, their envy, their judgment, their gossip, can have on our spirit. And the most powerful evil eye is often our own, the constant gaze of self-criticism and judgment we turn upon ourselves. I remember a client of mine, a gentle soul named Benjamin, who was a phenomenal history teacher. His students loved him, but he was crippled by a deep fear of judgment from his peers and from the parents of his students. A promotion to department head, which he richly deserved, had been open for 2 years, but he could never bring himself to apply because it would require him to lead meetings and give presentations. He told me, Solomon, when I stand up in front of adults, I feel the weight of their eyes on me. I feel their doubt, and I just shrink. He was experiencing the Ayin Hara in a very real way. I taught him a visualization with the name Aleph-Lamed-Dalet. I want you to try this with me. Close your eyes. Imagine these three ancient Hebrew letters, Aleph, Lamed, and Dalet, composed of brilliant white light. Now see them beginning to spin, faster and faster, until they merge into a perfect sphere of light that completely surrounds you, extending about an arm's length in every direction. This is your sacred space. Now this is the key. From the inside, this sphere is perfectly transparent. You can see out clearly. You can speak your truth. You can connect authentically with others. But from the outside, its surface is like a perfect, flawless mirror. Any energy of judgment, envy, or negativity that is directed toward you simply meets this mirrored surface and is harmlessly reflected away without ever touching you. It does not reflect it back with malice. It simply returns the energy to its source. Benjamin practiced this every morning before school. He would sit in his car for just 5 minutes and build his sphere of light. The first time he stood up in a faculty meeting, he told me something incredible happened. He could still sense the usual dynamics in the room, but for the first time, he felt they couldn't penetrate him. He felt safe in his own energy. He spoke with clarity and passion. He got the promotion that year. What invisible energies have you been allowing to influence your mood and your decisions? Finally, let us speak of wisdom, the foundation upon which King Solomon's entire legacy was built. The name for this is formed by the letters Hey-Zayin and Yud. This name is a conduit to what we might call prophetic clarity or divine intuition. This is not about telling the future. It is about seeing the present with perfect clarity. It is the ability to see the truth of a situation beneath the chaotic surface of emotions and conflicting facts. Most of our bad decisions are made when we are in a state of contracted, fearful consciousness. This name helps us access an expanded, wise, and loving consciousness. I think of a woman named Sarah who was in agony over her son. He was getting into trouble. His grades were slipping, and she was terrified for his future. She was overwhelmed with choices. Should she be stricter? More lenient? Should she move him to a new school? Every path seemed fraught with risk. Her mind was a whirlwind of anxiety. I taught her to work with Hey-Zayin-Yud. Her practice was not to ask for the answer. Instead, it was to ask for the wisdom to see. She would meditate on the letters and hold the intention. Allow me to see this situation not through my eyes of fear, but through the eyes of my highest, wisest self. Show me the simple truth I am missing. For days, nothing happened but the same storm of anxious thoughts. But then one morning, in the quiet after her meditation, a single, calm thought arose in her mind, as clear as a bell. He feels invisible. That was it. It wasn't a grand strategy. It was a simple diagnosis of the heart. She realized that in her efforts to manage his life, she had stopped truly seeing him. That evening, she changed her approach. Instead of asking about his homework, she sat with him and simply listened. That single shift, born not from frantic calculation, but from a moment of profound wisdom, began the healing for their entire family. When you face a difficult choice, is your mind filled with the loud noise of fear or the quiet voice of wisdom? Now, we must address something of profound importance. In some mystical circles and orthodox traditions, the use of these names by the uninitiated is controversial. Some rabbis and sages have warned against it, and they are not wrong to do so. This is not a parlor game. These are not spiritual toys to be trifled with. We are touching upon the primal forces of creation, and such power requires an equally profound sense of responsibility, humility, and above all, purity of intention. With great power comes great responsibility. This is not just a line from a comic book, it is a fundamental law of the cosmos. The critical distinction is this: are you using this knowledge to control the world or to transform yourself? The ego will always want to use this power to manipulate outcomes, to bend others to its will, to acquire things for its own glorification. The soul, however, seeks only to align itself more perfectly with the divine. The entire purpose of this sacred technology is to repair our own inner world, to heal our own character flaws, to become a clearer channel for the light of the Creator. When we do that, our outer world transforms naturally, effortlessly as a consequence. Any other approach is not only destined to fail, it is dangerous. I will tell you a story from many years ago, when I was first exploring these teachings myself. I knew a man, let's call him Julian. He was one of the sharpest minds I had ever met, a trader who saw the stock market as a grand chessboard he was determined to master. When he learned of the 72 names, his eyes lit up, but not with reverence, with ambition. He saw them as the ultimate edge. He began to meditate on the names for prosperity, not with an open heart of gratitude, but with a clenched fist of desire. He wasn't seeking to become a vessel for abundance, he was seeking to become a lord of acquisition. For a while, it seemed to work. He made a series of audacious, incredibly profitable trades. He became arrogant, dismissive, and his personal life began to wither. His friendships became transactions, his marriage a negotiation. The power he was accessing was flowing through the cracked vessel of his ego, and it was amplifying his worst traits. Inevitably, the crash came. Fueled by this spiritual hubris, he made a catastrophic bet. So certain was he that he could command the outcome. He lost everything. Julian's story is a powerful lesson. The 72 names are like a powerful electrical current. If you connect that current to a well-designed machine, it can light up a city, power a hospital, and do immeasurable good. But if you try to run that same current through a faulty, broken, or poorly designed circuit, you will not get light. You will get a fire. You will get destruction. Our character, our intention, our heart, that is the circuit. The work of self-refinement, what the Jewish tradition of Musar calls tikkun hamidot, the repairing of our soul traits, is not optional. It is the entire point. Before you ask for abundance, ask to become more generous. Before you ask for protection, ask to become less judgmental. Before you ask for wisdom, ask to become more humble. When you seek to change your life, is the desire coming from a place of ego, to prove your worth, to be better than others? Or is it coming from a soul-level yearning to grow, to heal, and to contribute more fully to the world? That is the question you must sit with before you ever whisper one of these sacred names. We have traveled a long way together in this short time, from the shores of the Red Sea to the inner workings of reality itself. I have given you a great deal of information, but information without application is merely entertainment. True wisdom is knowledge that has been lived, that has been forged in the crucible of your own experience. So now, I want to leave you not with more words, but with a challenge, an invitation to move from a passive listener to an active co-creator. I call it the 7-day experiment. I want you to choose just one of the names we have discussed today. The name for abundance, Samech-Aleph-Lamed, the name for protection, Aleph-Lamed-Dalet, or the name for wisdom, Hey-Zayin-Yud. Don't choose with your logical mind. Rewind the video if you need to and listen with your heart. Which one causes a feeling within you, a subtle pull, a sense of recognition? That is the one that is calling to you now. For the next 7 days, I want you to commit to spending just 10 minutes with this name each day. That's all. 10 minutes. I know how busy life is. I remember when my own life was a relentless storm of obligations. My mind would have screamed that this was a waste of precious time. But a wise teacher once told me, Solomon, give to your soul what belongs to your soul, and your soul will astonish you with what it gives back. Here is your practice. Find a consistent time, perhaps right when you wake up before the world rushes in. Sit in a quiet space. Turn off your phone. For the first 2 minutes, just breathe. For the next 6 minutes, gently close your eyes and visualize the 3 Hebrew letters of your chosen name. See them glowing with a beautiful, living light. Hold the intention associated with that name. If it is abundance, feel a sense of expansive gratitude. If it is protection, feel a sense of profound peace. If it is wisdom, feel a sense of calm clarity. For the final 2 minutes, simply release the image and sit in the silence. noticing how you feel. I also invite you to keep a small journal. At the end of each day, write just a few sentences. What did you notice? Any small synchronicities? A change in your mood? An unexpected insight? You may be astonished at what you discover when you simply start paying attention. This is your personal journey. But we are not meant to walk this path alone. After your 7 days or even during, I invite you to share your experience in the comments below. Be mindful and respectful, of course, but your story, your insight, your breakthrough could be the very thing that inspires someone else to begin their own experiment. Which name resonates most deeply with you at this moment in your life? Let me know in the comments. Are you willing to believe just for 7 days that you are a conscious creator of your reality? The power that parted the Red Sea is not a historical artifact. It is a living, breathing potential that resides within you at this very moment. You have the tools. You have the choice. My deepest prayer is that you use them to create a life not just of success, but of meaning, not just of wealth, but of worth, and not just of power, but of profound peace. And for those who wish to continue this journey of discovery, be sure to subscribe because next week, we are going to explore the hidden meaning of King Solomon's temple. It was not just a building, but a physical map of human consciousness and a blueprint for manifestation on a grand scale. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for your time and your attention. Be well.